Hello and welcome back. Sticking with the Singer Futura subject today, and this one's going to be on the Futura Electronic 2002 model. In the previous video I went through and assessed 7 Singer Futura sewing machines. In that batch I had 3 1000 models Futura and 1 1100 model and 3 of these 2002 models. Now I do have a 1000 model that's in pretty good condition, and I think that's going to be a contender to be one of the machines that goes into my collection. So now what I'm trying to do is get a good 2002 model to go into the collection. When I'm selecting a machine for my collection, I want to try and get the best example I can out of what I've got. And as far as this model goes, the 2002, this is probably the pick, and I'll go through and make sure that it's mechanically sound, electronically sound, and all the functions work, things like that. So that's what I'll do today. We'll go through that and I'll show you some of the things to look out for. You know, I don't want anything that's going to be a showstopper. Like in the last video you might have seen that one of the machines wasn't zigzagging, and you know, if I can't fix that, well, that's no good, because we won't have any of these pattern stitches available. No zigzag, nothing in that respect. Also reverse is an important thing, back tacking, and also the bobbin winder, and of course whether it sews. So probably the first thing to do will just be to plug it in and have a look to see whether it zigzags. Would be a good start, because that's a very quick, easy test there. I'll just remove the presser foot. Also, you can have a look at the presser foot's quite sort of rusty there. You know, I'll see if I can find another good presser foot, and maybe even off one of the other machines could be an option as well. The slide plate, I'll get you in for a closer look a little bit later. The slide plate's a little bit rusty. There's a little bit of rust on the throat plate there. It's not too bad. I'll just remove that needle there. When you first turn these machines on, you'll notice there's no lights on the panel, and the needle bar, I think, is disengaged. Yeah, needle bar's disengaged. And so to enable straight stitching, you press this button here, and that's another thing with this particular model. These buttons seem to be quite difficult to enable, you know, to switch on as such. They take a very hard push to get them to enable these functions here. So I'll take a wee look at cleaning those up here. So if we select the zigzag mode here, and we'll put the zigzag onto the widest width there. I took that other needle out because it was looking a little bit crusty on it. Just put a brand new needle in here. And you can see there that it's doing what it should. It's zigzagging. Okay, that's good. The next thing I'll do is, I should remove this bobbin just in case we get a tangle there. The next thing to do is just to check whether the machine is feeding. We can do this all, you know, with it not threaded up. That's no worries. We'll just make sure that it's feeding and that the stitch length selector is working. So this is the stitch length selector here. So that's looking like it's on the longest stitch there. And if I drop the stitch length down, that is having an effect. So the feed mechanism, the stitch length selector is working, and let's see if we can narrow down the zigzag here. Let's go down to 3 there. Yep. So as far as zigzag and feeding is concerned, that's looking good there. Okay, so probably the next thing to do would be to thread it up and make sure that the bobbin's winding. As you may have seen in the previous video, you can quieten these machines down substantially by making sure that the hook is oiled there. I may have already done this one, but I'll just put a little drop of oil on the hook, between the hook and the bobbin case there. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is to wind another bobbin. I'll show you the bobbin winding process. It's recommended in the manual that you remove, all the existing thread from a bobbin. So this particular type of bobbin doesn't unscrew like some of them do. The two halves unscrew from each other, and you can pull them apart and then just remove all of the thread and screw them back together again. I don't think this version of the bobbin does that. So what we do is we pop the bobbin into the bobbin case there, pop the latch down, and of course to remove the bobbin, I think you've seen me do that, just pull the latch up, and remove the bobbin there. But let's put the latch down, and then we'll go ahead and thread the machine here. Take the spool keeper off there. Gee, that's tight. That's been on there for a long time. Ooh. Oh. That's seen better days, hasn't it? I'll clean that up later on. Oh, the sponge in this thing here is just creating a huge mess here. I'll just grab another one. This is the one off the 1000 model, different colour, but at least it's not going to spew foam everywhere. Okay, and then we come across to the first thread guide here, and then if we swing the machine around so you can see at the back there, we come in underneath this guide here, over like that there, through the bobbin winder tensioner disc here, and down the slot across the top of the machine, down through the tension discs here. I've got the presser foot up, and that releases the top tension discs here so that the thread can pull down into the tension discs. Underneath this black plastic piece here, back up, and as long as the take-up lever is in its upper position, I'll just double check that, bring the take-up lever, you can see the take-up lever coming up here. Just make sure that's in its top position there. You bring the thread along the right hand side of the take-up lever, around the back, and back down the left hand side, and then down the left slot there in the front of the machine. Follow the slot down here, along here, and around the back of this guide here, and then pull it across to the left there. And then there's a guide here just above the needle there, just come in from left to right there to that guide there. This particular machine has what they call in-place bobbin winding. So you actually thread the needle to wind the bobbin, and the top thread actually winds the bobbin in the bobbin winding mode. And then when the bobbin's full, you switch off the bobbin winding mode, and then your bobbin's wound and your top thread's already threaded. It's a brilliant system actually, I really like it. And then we pass the thread underneath the presser foot there and wind the thread around that's the attaching screw there that holds the presser foot on. You just wind it a few times around there. So we're ready to go just about. The next step is to pull across this little bobbin winding lever here. Now there is a problem with that. There's a couple of things that can go wrong with these. These can seize up, and also the little plastic parts on the bottom of this here can break. Oh no, there we go. I've just freed up enough. I'll need to get oil onto the shaft there. I'll show you how to do that later, but that is quite stiff. But that's engaged the bobbin winder. And there's also some other places that need to be lubricated here as well, relating to the bobbin winder. But anyway, that's good enough to wind a bobbin, I would say. There, let's see how we go. The bobbin winder on these, they don't stop automatically like on some machines, when the bobbin gets full. So you have to actually keep an eye on it. And the key is to not let the thread, fill any further than this outer ring here. So you can see it's got 3 concentric circles there. That's the outer ring. They also recommend that you put the machine into the slower speed. There's 2 speed settings. I haven't showed you that yet, but the other thing to do is to make sure that this button here is enabled. Yeah, really takes a really hard press to do it on this one. Yeah, so make sure that's on bobbin winding mode there. This plate stays back while you're winding a bobbin. Let's see how we go. Okay, that's good. And then remove this thread here. That thread was that thread that was wrapped around the screw here. Just remove that, and away we go. Okay, that's getting close to the outer ring there. We'll leave it at that. And the nice thing about these machines is to prepare for sewing, you literally just close this plate here, and you'll see that that brings this bobbin winding lever back into its normal position, or its non-bobbin winding position. So I'll close that, and you might have seen that little lever move. I'll just bring this back so you can see it. You don't have to do this, but this little lever now has come back to its sewing position, and you just carry on closing that there like so, and you know, literally you can start sewing right now. You don't have to pull the threads out, you don't have to trim them. You can, if it's on the edge of the fabric, you can literally just start sewing there. Bring it back out of bobbin winding mode, standard. Still on the slow speed there. Okay, I've just turned that speed onto the fast speed there. Tension's looking a bit better. I increased the tension. See there, loopy. Might not come through on the camera. Loopy on the bottom. That's the top thread coming through. Not enough top tension. And I've increased that. So it is looking better on the bottom there now. Okay, so yeah, everything seems to be working quite well there. It's a bit noisy. Tension's not quite right. So yeah, bobbin tension might be a little bit too tight. I'll show you how to adjust that. So one of the next things we could try also is this stretch stitch here beside the zigzag here. So we do that by winding the wheel over here to bring the selector onto the stretch stitch here, and just see whether we get a decent reversing stitch there. Now that's doing that because when I switched this here, it turned off the light. I had to select that there. See how we go there. That's looking pretty good there. Sorry, I should have used contrasting thread. The white's the best one to demonstrate the bobbin winding. Yeah, the thread tension's not so good. I'll thread it in black just so that you can see there. And you'll see how easy it is to thread. This is Gutermann pure cotton, so I'm not sure how this will go. It's black pure cotton. Yeah, very nice and easy threading on these. Just make sure that's around there. Yep. nice and easy to thread. Yeah, actually the tension's looking a lot better with that Gutermann cotton on there. It's coming through just a little bit on the back side. So this is the back side here with the white bobbin thread, and we've got the top side there with the black needle thread there. That's looking pretty good actually. Yeah, so you can see, oh, it's difficult to see the white there that I did before, but you know, you can see that the thread can make quite a big difference to your tension there. The other thing I want to do is check the reversing. The reversing is done with this button here. So let's come back onto straight stitch there, and then I'll be pushing this button to attempt the reversing there. Yep. Oh, I have to push it really hard. Yep. I was pushing reverse there for a bit and it just didn't do anything at all. So I'll try again. There we go. Pushing, no. So yeah, that definitely needs sorting out. So this switch here is just not responding as well as it should. I had to grip the machine on the top and press really hard on this. I mean, if you had to do it without gripping the machine, it would just fall away from you, you know, and you still wouldn't get enough pressure on this here to get the reverse working, I'm sure. So I wonder if that's why some of these machines got thrown out, was because, you know, these buttons are not responding very well. And that, you know, is a big problem. So that's probably the major problem with this machine. Everything else seems to be working fine. The only other thing that lets this machine down, there's a little bit of sort of corrosion under the paintwork on the corner here. That's the only other thing that's really sort of letting this machine down. Considering that this is a fairly major problem here, the reversing button being very, very stiff, it's probably a good idea now to grab the parts donor machine. I really just want to, you know, pull the panel off another machine just to see if I can actually get contact cleaner into these buttons and behind these buttons here, you know, without taking too much off the machine. You know, I might even be able to get in from behind and, you know, take the lid off, get in from behind and spray contact cleaner down here, or who knows, it might even get in through the front, I'm not sure. But I'd like to take one of these panels off and just explore it in more detail. The other thing that needs sorting with this machine is this bobbin winder lever here. It's a little bit stiff. It's actually freeing up quite nicely there. But you can see it's slow to return if it's not latched. If I latch it in, it's fine, but there, that needs lubricating. The machine's a little bit noisy as well. It probably could do with a service. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and remove a panel from another machine. Let's grab that. Here's the, this is a 1000 model, which has, you know, the same control panel. So the idea is to try and remove this panel, see whether I can get access to it. This is my parts donor machine. It's in pretty rough condition. You know, whether it's parts donor or, you know, whether I will actually get the machine up and running, I don't know. But yeah, it's got a few missing bits here, throat plate, presser foot shank, and the presser foot, that's probably easy enough to find. But yeah, it's in pretty rough condition, as you can see. But yeah, interestingly, the difference is just in the branding, you know. If you have a look here, you've got Singer down the front. This is the 1000 model with Futura here. This has normally got a silver paint on it, which is worn off. But if we have a look at the other machine, you can see they changed the branding here. So we've got Futura Electronic here, and they put Singer on the lid. And this here is black. The thread stand here is black. You can see on the 1000 model there that it's white. So just, yeah, a little facelift changes there. Okay, first thing to do is to remove the lid, and there's a lever. This thread guide around the back here is actually a lever, and you push that down and you slide the whole lid to the left looking from the back. It's to the right obviously looking from the front. Slide that like that, and then that should just lift straight off like that. Looking into the top of the machine here, you can see a little bit of surface rust around and about here, a bit of surface rust, so it's been sitting for a while, but you know, that shouldn't affect it too much, I wouldn't think. Just need to look at how to get this front panel off, and it looks like possibly a couple of screws. I've not done this before, so sort of just having a toy around with it at the moment, just to see what it takes. But those screws look like it actually holds on an electronic board on the front there. I may end up taking out screws I don't need to take out. That is part of the process. I guess I could probably look it up on YouTube, couldn't I? But I haven't done that. No, I don't think doesn't seem to be attached by any of those screws there, just looking at that. I'll figure this out and come right back. Whew, wow, got it out. It's you don't actually have to remove this panel. This is the electronic panel that sits down in behind here. You don't have to fully remove it to get access to the buttons. These are the buttons here. And if we have a look at the panel attaches to the front here, and the buttons, these here, if we have a close look in behind there, you'll see that they just push through these little plungers here through to these little tactile domes, and I found a way to clean them up without actually taking this whole board out. Effectively, I lifted the board up to about that level there, so you know, this is in behind, that sits down in there. Not sure if I can get that. Oh yeah, I can see. Yeah, this here is attached with 2 screws down on the inside of the machine, and I don't actually have to take that out because I can loosen this single screw here, and that releases this clamp here. This here is clamping onto the board, clamping these transistors, I assume, onto the main board. Yeah, you can see, you might be able to see there how the board slots into this groove here, and that screw there, if it's loosened, allows the board to slide out of this unit. So I didn't actually need to take these 2 screws out here, and I can't get it back in with this unit on here. So let's just, I'll just show you how this all works, and we'll go ahead, and this is on my donor machine, and then we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to remove it. There's a bit of surgery involved. So I've loosened the screw here, and that can now just slide off nice and easily. And this white paste is a thermal compound grease. So what I need to do with this one is I need to place the block back inside there, screw it up, and then slide this down so that it slots in to these. Effectively it slots in here like that, like so, and then I can tighten the screw up, this screw here, once it's all back in place. So I've done that around the wrong way slightly there, but anyway, I know how to do it now. So yeah, a little bit of surgery involved, that's for sure. Not a job for the faint-hearted, but it's not too bad once you know how. There's a processor chip here, by the look of that, AMI processor of some sort. So I'd be making sure that you're statically grounded so that there's no static discharge from your body through the components here. So I'll show you how to do that on the other machine there. Okay, prepare for some surgery. First of all, take the lid off here. And then what we have to do is remove this board here because, oh, this is actually different. This is set up differently to the other one. I think I still have to remove this board. There might be a mounting screw under here. I might end up taking off things I don't need to, but let's have a quick look under here. See if, oh yeah, so I think these two screws, these two here, one there, 1, 2. This is actually easier than the 2002 model because I think all I need to do is take this strip here off just to free up that cable. Okay, and that's keyed there. You can see there's a little blank spot on the strip of connectors there, and that marries up with that little white blank spot there, so that's nice. So yeah, this is actually easier to get access to on the 2002 model than that 1000 model that I showed you before. The 1000 model I had to take all these connections here off, remove this board here completely, but that's nice and accessible there. Now the key here is to make sure that this plate here, I'll get you actually a view from the back, this part here you'll see is a rounded plate with a cutout at the top. And you have to make sure, see that plate comes through a sensor here, and if you try and take the board out whilst that plate is between the sensor, it will bend and damage the sensor. So make sure that this plate is at the bottom there, so that the plate's not in between the sensor there. Let's bring it back to that area there, and then I'll just remove these two screws here. One there, that one, and things are starting to loosen up here. Just need to tip the machine on its back there, and we'll get the base off. So, screw here. Sorry about all the dead spider carcasses there. Okay, 1, 2, be one here, 3, 4, that should just lift off there. There looks like a difference in the clamping scenario here. There's 2 screws, one here, for the clamping of that board at the bottom. I need to get those loose, and they are angled, so I need to get in from where this motor is here. So maybe it's not so easy. Oh, so that means the motor's got to come out. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, good chance to show you the motor mounting scenario. Let's see if we can get that out. Have that in that. Does that come out? Yep. Just removing these power connections here. There's 1 and 2 there. They're going to be difficult to reconnect, I think. Are they? Yeah, they might be difficult to reconnect. The connector it goes into is just sort of floating down in here. So can you just plug them back in? I guess you might be able to. Oh yeah, no, that's all right. I think that's connected. Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, I'm just going to mark the top one, the nearest one here, just to make it a bit easier to put back together. So this setup looks very similar to the 700 series machines actually. The other thing I have to remove is this. This is the switch here. The little linkage for the switch. Just looking at this here, but I think I can just pull this. Yeah, that just flips off. That's quite nice. This might not be too bad actually, hopefully. There's the adjustment block here. If I remove this here, this screw comes right through for the adjustment block. So I'll loosen the locking nut there, and that should allow me to swing the motor, I think, out of the way. Okay, that's 14mm nut there. Okay, loosen that. The problem I've got here is I need to unscrew this screw, but there is an eccentric pin on the other end that adjusts the motor up and down, and it won't allow me to unscrew this without creating a lot of slack. In fact, the motor block is disintegrating. I've shown these motor blocks in the Singer 700 series videos. That one's disintegrating. I think I've got spares of these, so that shouldn't be a problem. But that doesn't help here, where I've got to get enough slack in the system, and the only way to do that is to remove the motor belt. So when I was saying that the 2002 model is easier, it might be in the respect of the top end here, but in respect of the bottom end here, it's a lot harder. Yeah, not thanking the designers on this one. Definitely makes it a lot harder to repair this. I need to remove the belt, and there's not enough slack. The other option is to take the pulley off. See if that's easy enough to get off. Hopefully. Yep, oh, that's easy. That's not too bad. There's a flat spot on this shaft here. It's going to be easy to put back on. No worries there. That's the motor pulley. Okay, so now there should be enough slack here to allow this to undo. Remove this out of the system here. This doesn't need to be fully removed, just far enough for this little, this is the little eccentric rod here. You can see it turning, and that's tightening it in, and then it engages with the motor block adjustment here. So I've just backed that off far enough out of the way to allow me to swivel the motor here. And I'll also, replace the motor block here. Here it is here. Pretty sure I've got one in stock. At least I hope I have. So that comes out. Yeah. That's Molly. That's what she does at 5 o'clock in the morning because she wants water. And that's toned down. She's actually got quieter. It used to be really loud. Horrendous. There's no sleeping through it, I tell you. It's like having a baby in the house. You know, keeps you awake. So let's just remove that. There's the remnants of the motor block. That's not unusual for these to disintegrate like that, especially at the age of these. Now, the question is, can I get to the screw in question? Might be easier if I flip the machine onto its front here. Yeah, I can see the screws. So this is the motor. And see down there? They're the two clamping screws. I think I'll be able to get those loosened, possibly. There's still quite an angle on there. I almost need to take the motor out to do this, which I was trying to avoid. Just have to move the camera out of the way a little bit there just to see if I can loosen these. Oh, they're tight. Tight. Oh, I damaged the screw head slightly there. That's mainly because I couldn't get a decent purchase on this. Yeah, you might be able to see it there. That's because I can't get straight onto the screw. That damage there. So the motor's got to come out. It's probably a good opportunity to show you the mounting system here anyway. I'll just flip the machine back onto its back. Wow, this is really extending the time it takes to do this job. You know, that was so much easier on the 1000 model. This whole motor's got to come out. Loosen the left-hand mount there. Extract the left hinge, and will that come off? Oh yeah. Oh, that's not too bad. There we go, motor. Motor extracted. Not too bad. These here fail. These get brittle and fail. Pretty sure I've got replacement ones of those. And there's another one on the other side there. And then I'll flip it onto its front again. Oh. And now I can get direct access to these two screws without damaging them. There we go. Okay, loosen that one. They are tight. Yep, that one. There we go. And that slackens off this clamping system here. You'll see there's the board, the bottom of the board there. This is a heat sink. So there we go. And now the board should slide off. Slide up there. Hello. So that should allow me to, you know, just slide the board out from the top there. So it's released all that. That's good. So now back to the top end. Okay, finally we can start to look at this top end again. And I think that should just... there is a mount screw down here. There's a mounting screw there. I think this one here has to come out. And yep, I think that's going to let us, yep, there we go. So now this should lift out. So you can access the screws that allow you to take the front bezel off, and that gives you access to the contacts there. You know, without taking anything else off. You can lift this high enough to get these screws out here now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Start by taking this one here out. You could extract the entire board. There's probably just a few electrical connections to remove there. But this is enough to get you through. And we don't want to be here all day, do we? And then take the cardboard backing off there. Just going to put my earth strap here on to discharge any static electricity that my body might be holding here, just in case. There is a processor on here, it's probably fairly fragile. Okay, so that one, get that one off. There we go. Just like that. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to coming right out, but as I say, there's no need to. And behind this little plastic cover here are the little tactile dome switches there. And on this machine, I think probably the three most used switches are the reverse here, which was not working very well. That's your straight stitch go button and your bobbin winding button. That's these three here. It's these three, reverse, straight and bobbin wind. Now they were the troublesome ones. These other buttons seem to be pretty good. I guess while you've got the board out, you could probably do the whole lot, but I'm not going to at this stage. I'll show you my process for sorting this out. It just requires a little bit of a very fine sandpaper. So if we just gently peel the plastic back off here, I'll get you in for a closer look here in a second. Maybe even just try and get this little spacer, so like a rubber spacer here, peeled off just temporarily. It just makes it a bit easier to get the sandpaper in there. Just like that. It's got my multimeter here on continuity, and if I measure the connection, I've got one on the center connection on the back, one probe there, and then one on the actual plate, and I can push this probe down to make contact and just see, you know, what state it's in. You see it's not making contact there. Oh, did a little bit there. I've got this 280 grit sandpaper. It's pretty fine. I don't think it'll do any damage, and you don't want to be sanding for too long here. You just want to slip the sandpaper in between the contacts here. So I've got the sandpaper facing, so the gritty end is facing the rear part of the switch there, and I'm just going to push and hold the switch gently and drag the sandpaper through backwards, and then release and just drag it through a few times, because they are metal contacts. And then flip it around. Oops. I tried contact cleaner alone and that wasn't really good enough. And then I'll just flip the sandpaper around, slot it in under here to give this side of the contact, the underside of this here, a clean. And then I'll give it a small spray with contact cleaner there, just to make sure there's no contaminants in there. And then I'll just hit it with the meter there, see what we get now. Yeah, see? That's the reverse button. That's the one that was very difficult to activate. And you can see there that that's pretty reliable. You know, it just takes a very light touch. So let's check the next one. Get a connection every so often. And the next one, that one's not too bad. Oh, yeah, that one's not bad. But I'll do the same thing with this and this switch here. I also tried on the other one desoldering these plates here, but they've kind of been crimped over, so they've been put in the factory, they've been inserted into these holes here, hole either side, and then they've been slightly sort of crimped over and then soldered, so that just makes it a bit tough to desolder them without damaging them. that one. Perfect. I won't show you that one. I'll go ahead and do that. Nice. Done. Yeah, I think considering, you know, how much of a pain it is to get in here, I'd be tempted to do all of these. I might just do those off camera. Just put that little rubber spacer back on there, and then just put that plastic piece over. You know, the old glue's holding that there. While I'm here, I'd also be tempted to get some contact cleaner into these potentiometers here. Just a wee spray and a turn of the knobs there should do it. I'm just using a CRC Precision CO contact cleaner. I think if you're in the States you could probably buy Deoxit, or in the other countries. I haven't seen it here in New Zealand, the actual brand Deoxit, but seem to hear a lot about that in the retro computing circles. Not sure if we can get it here, but this seems to work pretty well. So give that a bit of a wiggle there. Put this plug back on. Like that there, and then we're ready to put the board back in. Okay, so this video is starting to get quite long now, so I thought I'd break it up into two parts. So in the next video I'll show you how to install the main board here, and I'll also go through and just touch on the motor mounts just briefly. I thought I might break that out into a separate video, a more in-depth video about the motor mounts, and also I'll do the same thing with the bobbin winder. So the next video I'll show you putting the machine back together basically. Might do a quick service and then see how the machine goes from there. So we'll catch you in the next video. I'd like to say a special thanks to my new patrons on Patreon, and of course all my existing patrons there. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can take a look at patreon.com/sewing machines. And of course to all you out there on YouTube, thank you very much for watching.